Please come in. You're right on time. The door only opens when the clock strikes midnight. Georgia and Hannah are preparing to broadcast from the belfry. Just like this old bell tower, they have many stories to tell. Some old and some new. Follow me up these stairs, but mind your step. Ah, they're waiting for you.
Recording to this computer in progress.
Yeah.
I don't know what. It, like when I click recording, it automatically just starts like on the cloud. I don't know what the
That's so weird.
yeah. It's very new. I don't know what like if it's since I changed like the display because now it's like two lines long instead of just one. So like
Yeah.
recording on this computer is like one line and then because it's got like the AI bullshit and everything.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, I'm
I
waiting.
wonder if someone like enabled that automatically in like a recent Zoom update or something, you know? And when I
Yeah.
say someone, I just mean Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
how
know.
that's that. Oh, this is really good.
Maybe that's something you can go into your Zoombi account and fix. When
Oh,
I went down to the more and then record, it gave me two options, request to record to this computer and request to record to cloud. So
yeah.
it has to be like a Zoom all kind of thing, you know.
Yeesh.
It's fucking stupid.
This is really fucking good.
Oh, Dawn drinks those all the time because they're always on sale at the Circle K.
This is the raspberry rose one, and I didn't think about it at the time when I bought it, but my Downton Abbey tea that's like my favorite is raspberry rose flavored, and this just
Nice.
tastes like cold sparkling version of that.
Yeah,
So
hell yeah.
I'm doing great now. God. That whole ordeal is like how I feel like the entire week has been. And I think Tamira would agree with me, which is why it feels like everything is wrong because like Tamira's so chill about everything.
Yeah.
Like
Well, she
even
wasn't during the move. I remember that vividly.
no, but like, everything else about work, she's just been like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Everything is great. So,
Okay.
yeah, 'cause so we have two tribal visits in the next 2 weeks. What else has happened? You had jury duty this week?
Yeah, that was fun, honestly. I can talk about it now, but I won't do that while we're recording.
Okay.
Oh my God. All I can say is it is simultaneously not as dramatic as you see on TV, and it's as dramatic as you see on TV. Like
Yeah.
there were multiple moments where I was just sitting there like stunned, like, oh my God, is this really happening?
Oh my God.
I remember there was this one moment where the defense was trying to ask a question to one of the witnesses. And the prosecution, who ended up being the state, or the state's attorney, well, one of the state's attorneys, or I assume someone from the state's attorney's office, because uh, it this person I think was as old as me. So it's like,
Okay.
okay, I don't think that was the case, but
Yeah.
they certainly seem that way. Um, the defense was trying to make an inquiry to the witness, who was a great witness, was a cop, and he was like very well spoken and like was saying all the right things
Hmm.
when he was talking to the state. And the state's attorney kept being like hearsay, objection, hearsay, like over and over again. And then at one point the judge was like, let's have her finish the sentence to actually see if it's hearsay. Because the the defense attorney was like just trying to like reword what she was trying to ask.
Yeah.
And at one point she finally like she was like and then like started to come up with something, and at the end of the sentence everyone was like, yes, that was good question, not hearsay. And then the witness responded, and then the defense attorney asked another question, and the state was like, objection, that was hearsay. And everyone was like, yeah, it was
Oh
really
my
funny.
God.
Oh my gosh, it was so weird. It was so weird. Like, they brought out the big TV to show the evidence pictures and videos of like the body cams and all this stuff. My God.
It sounds so dramatic.
It was so dramatic, but it also wasn't. It was like very, I almost said like clinical, but this is the wrong setting for that. It was like very legal terms heavy. It was like
Yeah.
very, I was
Yes.
so sad that I didn't deliberate.
That reminds me of there's this episode of The Great North, which is the same, done by the same people that make Bob's Burgers. It's the same,
Yeah.
Lauren Bouchard. Nick Offerman is the dad, and he's like a single dad, and he's got four kids. Yeah, and the youngest one is the one that wears the bear suit all the time.
Hmm.
And there's this trope in the show that anytime there's like a big Alaska storm and the power goes out and they're snowed in, they get kind of crazy and they end up like doing really unhinged things in the house. And
Hmm.
so the first episode where this happens, they do Moon Court, where Moon is the judge. And like whatever, so like in the first episode about it, someone broke a DVD and they're put on trial about like why they broke the
Oh
DVD.
my God.
And like one of them is pleading insanity, and then they have like other people act as the jury and the stenographer and the prosecution and the defense. And Moon just says sustained all the time. And then one person who is like new to this is like, does he think that means yes? And he just goes, sustained. It's
That's
really funny.
cute.
10
I
out of
think
10.
I think that the main takeaway of doing jury duty, and this is gonna sound like so sappy or whatever, but like I have never felt more important in my life
Yeah, I mean, that's
because
fair.
the entire decision rested on the jury to like charge this person of the crimes that they were, or excuse me, uh, they were already charged with crimes,
Yeah.
to find them guilty or not.
Yes.
And like
To
it
convict them.
was as legal term heavy as it was psychological, and like I sincerely commend lawyers who clearly work so fucking hard. That job seems so hard.
Yeah.
Like the information that they have to compile with evidence and like explain it in a way that makes sense and ask relevant questions to these
Hmm.
people. Some of the witnesses did not want to be there, and they weren't really forthcoming with any information at all.
Thanks. Yeah.
Which I will explain to you when we're not recording, but
Okay.
like it was just like
Uh,
I felt so dumb being in the same room as these lawyers and the judge, obviously, who didn't really say much. He just kind of explained stuff to the jury and like made rulings like sustained or overruled or whatever, you know.
hmm.
Um, oh, yeah, I never felt more dumb, but I felt so fucking important. It was insane. I was like, I can't believe you're entrusting us, a bunch of goobers,
Yeah.
with such an important decision. Because we had the chance to like chat with one another on breaks and stuff. We are just a bunch of goobers. We're just a bunch of idiots.
Well, that's the point
No,
of a trial by jury. That's why
it's a
it's
jury of your
it's a jury of your
peers.
peers,
It's
yeah.
so wild. Like, I wish that everyone got to participate in jury duty. I like going into it, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. But coming out of it, I'm like, bro,
I
that was
mean,
unreal. It was like so inspiring that I was like, what if
oh my God.
I what if I do like pre-law or something? What if I
Uh,
just like that would be so stupid. I would never survive. I do not have the motivation for that or the memory.
what else has
That was my
happened?
experience.
We've it's been so long
We
since
went to Darren's wedding.
we went to Darren's wedding. It was so nice.
Both
Oh,
of us cried, but at different parts.
yeah. I cried when
Georgia,
Lord of the Rings started playing.
yeah. Yeah, that was pretty
So
good.
the bride walked down the aisle to the Hobbit theme, like the Shire music.
Yeah, that was a great decision.
That made me cry. I don't know why that made me cry, but that
She
was
really
like,
sold me with that one. I'm not gonna lie. I was
I
like,
was like,
yeah,
ah.
Ashley's all right. Ashley's all right. I
And
mean, I already
then
kind of knew that, but
yeah, I had asked him a few weeks ago, like, is she nerdy? And he was like, not really. I got her into Lord of the Rings recently, and I was like, okay,
hell
uh,
yeah.
good job, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Um, and he made little 3D
Excuse me.
printed minis as their cake topper, which I
Yeah.
knew was happening, but it was really cute to see them.
When I saw that, I almost cried. I was like over the moon. I was like, that's so cute. I did cry a little bit when so they did this thing called a dollar dance where you like paid $1 to dance with the bride or the broom.
The broom, which you didn't want to do.
The bride or the groom. No, I didn't want to do because I am very nervous and
Yeah.
I'm not as close to Darren as you or Shannon. So I opted to record.
Oh, you did?
I did. I got a full ass video of Shannon and him dancing, and then I got a whole ass video of you and Darren dancing.
Oh,
And that's when I cried, was when you two, when like you guys were dancing with Darren.
yeah.
I was like proud mom, like with my phone, just like,
I put all of the pictures and videos in our shared album. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did. Um,
I didn't. I'm really bad with Google Photos.
I downloaded them from the uh, I the ones that I took, like I have a lot of videos of Shannon and Seth and you dancing
Mm.
with the glow sticks, and I put all of those in our shared like our Apple, like uh
Oh,
our
oh,
Sluts
oh,
McGee
oh,
album, our Sluts
oh. Okay.
McGee album. Yeah.
Okay, 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 okay. I
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
actually do that. God, I forgot that existed. Haha.
Yeah, I did that in the car. So I have a lot of there's
Ah,
a couple of really good
ah,
videos of like
ah.
Shannon and Seth like they're in a fucking actual club scene with their glow sticks. Like it was so funny.
I'm gonna start weeping. Add to shared album. Sluts McGee.
That was a good time though. I went to Philly.
Yeah.
I didn't really do anything in Philly worth talking about because I was so busy. Um, and that's when Shannon got hit by a car.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's still alive.
And scared the absolute shit out of me. And I did berate him for not wearing his helmet.
I everything's fine. He's alive.
He's alive.
Uh,
Somewhat unwell, but he's alive.
yeah. He he's been cutting the shit out of himself today at work. And I'm just like,
Mm.
can you stop? Oh, he got an interview with the Cat Cafe. He had that yesterday.
Nice.
And so his interview was at 1. And I was like,
Oh,
okay.
that's why I was getting snaps. Okay, okay, okay. I was getting snaps of like all these buildings. I'm like, what the fuck are you?
So his interview was at 1 and and I was like, "Oh, okay, well you'll be down here, so just, you know, I figured by like 1:30 he would be like to my office, and I was like, we
Hmm.
can just go get lunch. At 2:20, I was like, have they imprisoned you in a basement? Like, what the fuck is going on? And he called me like 10 minutes later and he was like, I just got done. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm so hungry. What is happening? And he was like, just two people with ADHD doing
Oh
an
God.
interview. And I was like, what the fuck? What? And he was like, 30 minutes into it, we were still only on question two. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. But I
That's
guess
really funny.
the lady was like, I was like, why is this guy applying here? He doesn't have any like customer service experience or whatever. But I just had to interview you because you seem like your answers were not the same as everyone else's.
Hmm.
Um, and she was
Because
like,
he's Shannon, because he's cool.
and I was like, I did help him with this stuff. So, um, not that I think that's what did it, but um, she was like, I gotta sleep on anything, and I do have a couple more interviews, but I feel pretty comfortable in saying that we're probably gonna hire you. And I was
That's
like,
so awesome.
thank God, because he fucking hates his job at Menards. Hello, can I help you? Are you coming to record?
I'm looking around for my shit bag too.
Come here.
He's nowhere to be found.
Come here.
Bleh.
She's like literally right here. You could take one step and you would be on camera. You
I
can't even
can't even
see
see
her.
her.
My
Hey,
little
nice
girl.
shirt.
Thanks.
It's awesome. George is
Uh,
wearing her Mothman Museum shirt.
I sure am. Okay, so I think that's what's going on in our lives. I do want to say this episode is brought to you by the Illinois Tourism Board. They just don't know it yet.
Okay.
So call us with
Okay.
with money to sponsor us. Thanks.
Word.
Uh oh, I gotta buy your birthday present. That reminds me. Okay,
What?
don't worry about it.
Oh, what does that have to do with the Illinois Tourism Board?
'Cause it's something we're doing in Illinois
Okay.
overnight, approximately an hour and a half away.
Oh God.
Okay, right after you get back from your road trip with Steve.
Oh yeah. I did tell you that the 12th is the day that we're supposed to leave, right? So we're gonna leave after the farmers market.
Oh, that's why he's in town. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I just wanted to
Okay.
just like before I forgot to tell you.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well, what do you know about the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, also known as the Columbian Exposition?
Well, I do have one factoid about that, but I'll have to get into it in the next episode.
Oh, okay.
Um, from what I know, they built a white city,
Yeah.
and I know that it burned down,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, I think they burned it down,
they
didn't they?
burned it down. I know it was like a highly flammable situation.
I don't actually know if that was on purpose or not, but I know the buildings were never intended to be permanent
Yeah.
structures,
Oh
so
God, no.
uh
Um, it burned down, whether it was intentional or not. It
yeah.
sure did burn. And I think there was like a cemetery that was built on top of the old expo grounds, but I can't remember. Um,
Well,
I also know that there was several inventors at the Chicago World's Fair. I know that oh God, Alexander Graham Bell actually
he went there.
he went there and he showcased an early X-ray machine
Mm-hmm.
which he used to examine President Garfield after he was shot to try and find the bullet
Oh,
that was still inside of him.
nice.
Yeah.
Was Garfield the one where he was shot and then the guy who assassinated him said I that he didn't kill him, he just shot him, and the doctors shoving their fingers inside of him is what actually killed him because he got an
Charles
infection.
Guiteau. So I don't, in the trial, I think that was the argument that his lawyers made, which
Oh,
was
okay.
true. It was true. Fully and completely. The
Yeah.
bullet, if it had been taken out, would not have killed him.
Yeah.
But yeah, the medicine
Everyone's
was just so shitty.
yeah.
And all of these doctors wanted to be a part of saving the president. That they got their dirty little fingies in there, and
It's really funny.
infection killed him. I read a book about Garfield's assassination that was just fascinating for
Nerd.
a history class that I took in my junior year of undergrad. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good book. I might still have it actually. Yeah, it was a fun class. It was all about after the Civil War up to World War II.
Oh.
Incredible. A lot of the economic strife and bullshittery and bureaucracy and what's the word I'm looking for? Corruption that was happening then.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's happening now with corruption is like nothing compared to that.
No, but that's what some of these people want to get back to.
Literally, yeah, pretty
It's what they're
much.
trying real hard to get back to.
Hashtag who's that super rich dude with the railroads and the Gilded Age? Rockefeller.
Yeah. I was like, which
Um,
one?
yeah. Anyway, that's I
Warren
really just
Buffett?
kind of
No, I'm just kidding.
Warren Buffett, brother.
I mean, he hates
Uh,
Trump,
Vanderbilt.
so Vanderbilt, yeah.
Vanderbilt. Ford came later.
I think
Um,
Vanderbilt and Rockefeller, the two, Carnegie,
Carnegie. There was the other guy. Those dudes.
bunch of dudes,
Bunch of
Bu-
fucking guys.
bunch of white dudes.
Fucking guys. Industrialization and shit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find literally any other names, and I fucking can't. So that's fun. Andrew Carnegie. Oh, the robber barons. Oh,
The robber barons. Yes. Oh God, my mom is blowing my phone
oh,
up. What do
here
you
we
want?
go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Give me the names.
Brother.
Jay Gould, Henry Clay Frick, Andrew Mellon, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Flagler, Henry Huddleston Rogers, J.P. Morgan, whose bank still exists,
Yeah.
Leland Stanford, Meyer Guggenheim, Jacob Schiff, Charles Crocker, and Cornelius Vanderbilt. Okay, I kind of went off there. My bad. But that's what I know about the Chicago Expo. I'm so excited to learn more.
You're gonna learn a lot more because I sure did
Oh
get
yeah,
carried away.
that's
Um,
fine.
so it wasn't Chicago, shocking.
Yeah, it
Um,
was north of Chicago, but
no,
yeah,
it was south of Chicago.
it was south of Chicago. What? That's
Yeah.
wild. I'm
We'll get
thinking of
there.
something else entirely. My bad.
We'll get there. It ran from the 5th of May to the 31st of October. Spooky.
Sorry.
Not so much spooky, just downright scary because it was called the Columbian Exposition to
Hmm.
commemorate the 400th anniversary of Columbus's arrival in the New World. Barf.
Lol.
But it was also like a coming out party for the city, especially after the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. Did you know that Boston had four Great Fires?
But
Four.
I assume there
Four.
would be more than that.
That's the topic for another day, but I was just
Okay.
like, what the fuck, guys?
Oh,
The Chicago fire burned for 2 days and killed 200 to 300 people, destroyed almost 17,500 buildings. Oh, hello. Do you just want love? Left 100,000 people homeless and caused about $2 million worth of damages in 1871 money. Around that time, it was normal for Chicago to have two fires a week, but the week of the Great Fire, there had been about 20 already, thanks to the extra dry weather. And of course, all of the streets and sidewalks were made of wood, so that
Mm.
didn't really help
Mhm.
things. Wasn't that also the case in Chattanooga as well when we did that ghost tour?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it was the case in a lot of cities, but
just like the packed.
it's like the sidewalks is the thing that I'm like,
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
really? Um, okay, so the fair. Today they're called World Expos. And I was thinking when I was reading about them, I was thinking that I feel like Iron Man really played up like the modern depiction of an expo, which is something we don't really see in media. Um, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was such a big part of the first Iron Man. But I guess it makes sense because when was Iron Man written originally? Because
Fuck if I know.
expos were still big into like the 60s and 70s, really.
I don't
I'm gonna Google it.
know, actually. I could Google it. Iron Man, Iron Man. 1962.
1963. Oh yeah. Cover dated March 1962. Okay, whatever. Um, so I guess that makes sense. Maybe it was a big part of the comic books. Who knows?
I don't know.
Anyway, they are still ongoing. There is one happening literally right now in Japan.
Oh God.
Um, and then Saudi Arabia has been elected as the host of the 2030. I think they're every 5 years now. Saudi Arabia has been elected the host of the 2030 World Expo, and the theme is the era of change together for a foresighted tomorrow.
That's okay.
According to their website, modern expos are, quote, large-scale performances, or sorry, large-scale platforms for education and progress that serve as a bridge between governments, companies, international organizations, and citizens. Okay.
Okay.
The first official World Expo was in London in 1851, and that was called the Great Exhibition of the Works of Industry of All Nations. Simply known as the Great Exhibition or the Crystal Palace Exhibition. And it came out after Prince Albert wanted to like showcase Britain to an international slash mainland Europe audience. Though there were exhibits from all over the world about cutting edge science and technology, it was really successful, like really, really successful. So successful that a fund created from the profits still today, 125 years later, provides fellowships to British students in engineering and industrial design fields. Sorry, 225 years later. Wait,
Math.
1851, 1950. Yeah, 125 years later. 175 years later.
Sorry. That's fine. I would have not been not been good at math.
Yeah, we got there in the end. Um, so that's crazy. The 1870s is when the World's Fair came to the US. The Civil War is over. America has survived 100 years. So to celebrate, Philadelphia hosted the US Centennial Exhibition in 1876, which showcased inventions of the early Industrial Revolution, like the Corliss steam engine, the typewriter, the telephone, and the most marvelous of all inventions, the calculator. Excuse you, go away. It also featured the first international art exhibition in the US and was the first fair to have different thematic pavilions, which ended up becoming pretty standard at future fairs. The 1889 Expo in Paris was, of course, the reason for the Eiffel Tower's construction, and that set expectations pretty high for the next one, which was the Chicago World's Fair. and it is now considered to be the most significant World's Fair in US history and one of the most important in the history of the fairs overall, which is pretty wild.
I believe it.
This expo was like peak golden age World's Fair. It
Hmm.
shaped architectural trends in the US for the next 25 years. It introduced the Midway, which is the entertainment zone, which is like in the middle of the fair, and then that was adopted by future fairs, and that's also why the Chicago Midway exists.
Yeah.
Um, no other expo reached its splendor or its influence. This is the fair that made Chicago known as the second city. So, like, if New York is the American city, Chicago is the second city. And this also led me down a rabbit hole about the Chicago flag, too.
Oh my God.
Do you know what the Chicago flag even looks like? Because I wouldn't have been able to describe it off the top of my
Honestly,
head.
no. But I did recently see like suggestions for a new Chicago flag, which I'm
So
like, what?
that is kind of weird. Because they're still proposing changes to this Chicago flag, which maybe they're related, I don't know. But it's like white with two blue stripes, making like five stripes total, but then the
Hmm.
two like light blue stripes, and then the middle white is the widest one. And the middle stripe has four red six-pointed stars in a line. So the three white stripes represent the north, west, and south sides of the city. And the top blue stripe is for Lake Michigan and the north branch of the Chicago River. And the bottom blue stripe is for the south branch of Chicago River and the Ship Canal, which ultimately connects to the Mississippi.
Mm.
And the flag was picked as a winner of a design competition. And the guy who designed it also wrote the rules for the competition. So that's a little shady, but his name is Wallace Rice.
Well, what a terrible name.
Originally, the flag only included two stars, and he explained that he went with six-pointed stars because five-pointed stars are used for sovereign states, and he didn't think that that was right for a city. Also, no one else had used a six-pointed star in a flag before, so it was something new and unique that could be like Chicagoan. Um,
Chicago.
And this was in 1917. So the original stars represented two big historical events in Chicago. The first was for the Chicago Fire, and the second was for the world's Columbian Exposition. And they were aligned to the left on purpose to allow other stars to be added. But since only two stars have been added in the 30s, one to represent Fort Dearborn and one to represent the other big Chicago Expo, which was the Century of Progress Exposition in
Mm.
1933. But the Chicago flag ranked number two on an opinion poll about US city flags. It's the second best city flag in the country.
What's the first?
DC.
Oh, I can.
I don't know what the DC flag looks like either.
Oh, I know what that one. I didn't know what the Chicago flag looked like, but I know what the DC flag looks like. Sorry. I think it's literally just red and white.
I'm gonna Google it.
Okay.
DC flag.
I know there's also stripes and stars, but I don't
Oh
remember
yeah.
exactly what it looked like.
It
Oh
looks like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing as I can't picture shit in my head, I was just floundering.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's red and white.
So I guess people are still saying like, oh, we should add a star for this. Oh, we should add a star for that.
How many
So
stars do we need?
yeah, I don't know.
Too many stars.
Anyway, okay, the fair, like I
The
said,
fair.
was on the south side of Chicago. It's now Jackson Park, um,
Hmm.
600 acres. So that's for people who don't live in Illinois or go to Chicago, that's like south of like the Field Museum and all that stuff too.
And the lake is east. It's not
Yes.
north or south. It's east.
Yes. So rapid urbanization is happening here leading up to the fair. The new elevated train was established, which is now the Green Line. They
Mhm.
needed to build entertainment venues and hotels and housing that can accommodate all the people that have to work at the fair. The nickname the White City came from the massive white neoclassical buildings that were erected for the fair. They were covered in stucco, which is
Mhm.
why they were white. They weren't actually designed to be permanent structures, but there are two in the city that still stand. One is the Palace of Fine Arts, which after the fair is where the original Field Museum was until it moved into its current building, which was also built in neoclassical fashion to keep with the theme. And so that building is now home to the Science and Industry Museum.
Hmm.
And then the second one was the World's Congress Auxiliary Building, which was built outside of the park. Um, and this one was built with a little more intention as the costs were shared with the Art Institute with the purpose that it would be theirs after the fair was over. So that's the main building of the Art Institute now. There are some other surviving buildings, but they're in Maine, Massachusetts, and Norway. And then there's also a replica Viking ship that was sailed from Norway to Chicago, and it's now kept in Geneva, Illinois, where you can go and see it, which I think that sounds delightful. Some fun things that premiered at this fair. We already talked about a couple of them. Cream of wheat.
Yeah,
Gross.
literally disgusting.
The brownie. Great.
Oh, much better than cream of wheat.
The brownie was invented at the Palmer Hotel. You can still go there and order a brownie.
Okay.
I think it has walnuts in it. It's some bullshit.
Man.
Yeah.
Is it true
Juice
that peanut butter was shown there?
peanut butter is on my list.
My worst enemy.
Yum.
Sorry
Juicy
for.
fruit gum.
Oh, okay. I do believe that actually. Juicy fruit's been around for a while.
Yeah. Also, in keeping with the cream of wheat theme, Quaker oats and shredded wheat.
Okay.
I mean, I guess this was like prime, like pre-prime cereal time, you know. This was like right before Kellogg started
I
convincing
was just gonna
prisons
say
to get cornflakes, whatever the fuck.
to help not masturbate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing,
Stupid.
other than brownies, that was premiered at this fair, PBR, brother.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
And the Vienna sausage, which later became Vienna beef, the Chicago hot dog wiener.
The Wiener sausage.
Also a Braille printing device
Okay.
where the
Wait,
inventor got to meet Helen Keller because
I
she
was
came
just
to
gonna say
visit.
this is the same time as Helen Keller.
Yep, she
Holy
was
shit.
yep, she came to visit the fair. The moving walkway, like the ones they have at airports.
Oh, the people
Squash
mover.
washed pennies, like the ones you get at tourist places where you put your penny in and it like
Oh,
swishes a stamp into it.
those are cool. I've never been a collector, but they're cool.
Yeah, I have a couple, just I don't know, I just have a couple.
Yeah.
The Ferris wheel,
Slay.
the first electric automobile, suck it, Tesla, and electrical lighting, which was actually powered by Tesla's AC system in this case.
Okay. Okay. Maybe
So,
that's what caught fire to everything.
so that was no, AC was safer than DC. That was
Oh,
like a
like, well, yeah, but
that was a big win for like the current battle. Um, I'm gonna Google it. Was the White City burned on purpose? Yes. Oh,
yeah, don't read that Google AI shit. Excuse me.
yeah. The Google AI shit says one thing, but I don't know if that's true or not. Something about a strike, a worker strike. Anyway. Also, Houdini performed at the Midway.
Okay.
And then the taxidermied remains of P.T. Barnum's Jumbo the elephant were also on display.
Milo, come here. You gonna be loud? Come here. Milo. What am I, chopped liver? Come here.
Milo!
Come here, bitch. Come here.
Bitch!
Come on, Milo.
Get out of my house, you little bitch! I just see his tail. Um, okay. Luna, look, there's her boyfriend that you'll never meet in person because you're mean.
There you go.
So all of that sounds great, but I didn't want to ignore how problematic the fair was. I mean, it was called the White City because of the stucco, but like, you know, it portrayed the white ideal of civilized society.
Uh-huh.
Um, like it's literally called the Columbian Exposition. We're commemorating colonialism, Western supremacy, social Darwinism. The ethnographic displays were literally like human zoos with non-white people on display as savages, primitives, dehumanized exhibits for white people to point at. Black Americans were only allowed on the Midway. Native Americans were excluded from the narrative while their ancestors and sacred objects were on display, and a sanitized version of westward expansion and manifest destiny was pushed. And it reinforced imperial ideologies. Like, basically, people there were like, we could do this in Puerto Rico and Hawaii and the Philippines. Let's go. Um, Women, only white ones, had one small space to celebrate their accomplishments, but it was very much like the men let us have this, secondary to the genius of the men.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I didn't intend to spend this much time talking about the fair itself, but I feel
It's
like given
okay.
our goal
It's
of
fun.
diving into the darker side of American history this season, it was important to like set that scene because it is like very contradictory. You have like two very different sides of American history. And I think a different World's Fair, well, I think you've mentioned the World's Fair coming up again. I'm going to talk about a
Hmm.
different World's Fair coming up in a few episodes. So it's just something that was part of the culture at this time. Grand spectacles highlighting rapid development thanks to the Industrial Revolution and really glossing over the bad sides of capitalism and development. So, for the purposes of today's story, let's hone in on the excitement and draw of the White City, lit up by these bright, glowing lights cutting through the darkness and grime of the industrial city, a beacon of optimism
What the fuck are you talking about?
through the political corruption of poverty. Let's also hone in on the fact that it's still the 1890s.
Uh-huh.
Women should be quiet. Women should be well behaved.
Gross.
Women should be married and serve their husbands.
I am none of these things.
Women were prime targets for attending the fair, especially white middle class women. They can shop, they are fashionable, they're educated enough to appreciate like the art and the lectures and the exhibits. But then also young working class women who dreamed of coming to the fair and finding work. Like it's exciting. It's a chance for them to get out on
Yeah.
their own and see the city and see all of these exhibits and meet all these different people, maybe even find a husband.
Mm.
Thanks. And the fair was
Just
marketed
gonna add that to the list.
the fair was marketed as a place of employment for these women. They could work in hospitality as waitresses or maids. They could do clerical work like typing or taking tickets or being guides around the fair or demonstrating like some of these inventions or cooking or whatever. They could also work on the midway as dancers or entertainers, which was, very sinful. Many of these positions meant 10 to 12-hour shifts with little pay, no breaks, no labor protections. They often faced sexual harassment. They were undervalued. They were also hypocritically monitored for improper behavior, like very Bridgerton, which is So hypocritical. While they're being harassed.
Hmm.
They lived in shared housing with other working women, so they had little privacy. Their conditions probably weren't the best either. There were no management or leadership positions for women. Those were all filled by men too. So that's all going on in Jackson Park.
I suppose I shouldn't be surprised considering women weren't even allowed to like have their own bank account until the 60s. So,
Yeah,
or 70s, excuse me.
we're like 50 years into suffrage at this point, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still gonna be another like almost 30 before women get the vote.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Yeah, so that's all going on in Jackson Park. 4 miles down the road in Englewood is actually where our story takes place. So, just to rewind to 1885 a little bit, where a young Herman Webster Mudgett moved
Okay.
to the area and took a job at a pharmacy under the alias H. H. Holmes.
Oh, no.
Now, this guy had already established a history for himself during medical school at the University of Michigan, who can fuck right off right now, swear to God.
Yeah, for real, for
So
real.
sick of their shit. He was stealing cadavers and burning them or disfiguring them before planting them as if they had been killed in an accident. And basically, he was taking out life insurance policies on them and then
Yeah.
collecting them once the accidents had been discovered. So, good start. By this point, he's also already abandoned one. Okay, so he'd already abandoned one wife and child at this time. That was his first wife, Clara. Many podcasts talk about H.H. H. Holmes. While I'm all for people changing their name for whatever reason, I will be naming him Herman Mudgett because that's his
Yeah.
name,
He deserves that.
and he used aliases for the wrong reasons, and Mudgett just sounds like it's an insult, so
Yeah. He deserves that shit ass name
yeah.
for being a shit ass.
Webster's fine, but Herman Mudgett is.
Mm-hmm.
So he's working at this pharmacy in Englewood, and he is now newly married to his second wife, Murda. The pharmacy owner, Dr. Holden, dies, and his wife is left to manage it. But Mudgett here convinces her to let him take it over. And as soon as she transferred the paperwork to his name, she moved to California and was never seen again.
Yeah. Sure.
So now he's got the pharmacy and he decides to buy an empty lot across the street and he designs a three-story hotel, which started becoming known as the Castle. And construction was finished for the hotel in 1891. And I'll come back. I used those descriptors because that's what everyone says, but I'm gonna come back and clarify them towards the end because turns out they're not actually that accurate. During construction, it said that he would hire a new construction crew to build like one part and then fire them, and then hire another construction crew to build a different part and then fire them and keep doing this. And people interpreted this that he, as the architect, was the only person who knew like the full vision of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, there were doors that led to nowhere, a labyrinth of corridors, trapdoors, secret passages, rooms without windows, soundproof rooms, secret gas fittings in rooms, chutes to the basement, like all kinds of features that led to it becoming known as the Murder Castle. Oh my
Bless him.
God. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Uh, So, with the news of the fair coming to Chicago, he started advertising rooms available as well as jobs of his own to entice women to come and stay with him. Like, he's such a creep.
Mm.
He's still married.
Oh.
to murder at this time. There are so many podcasts that cover this part of the story. Like, I'm gonna really gloss over the part that everyone talks about because I don't think it's important. He doesn't deserve the breath. But he was good at gaslighting. He was good at isolating and manipulating women, especially those who are already vulnerable, whether they had come to find work or see the fair or had like bought into his, like charm and bullshit. Especially when they thought they were marrying some wealthy businessman or heir. Like, he told one person that his dad was like a wealthy landowner, like a lord
Yeah.
in England. Um, so
Can you
like,
imagine doing that?
no.
Like, can you imagine that happening? Like, what if Seth just turns out to be a murderer?
I know. You'd
It's
be
been a
like,
7-year ruse.
what? Yeah, I
I would
mean,
be
I don't
shook.
I don't think he let these things go on this long because he didn't have the patience, but like
Yeah,
still.
true. Good point. Good point.
So fast forward to November 1894. I'm like we're skipping over
Hmm.
a couple years here, but that's when he's arrested. What do you think he's arrested for?
What year was it?
1894.
1894. Um, urinating in public.
No, it's kind of giving Al Capone vibes. He's arrested for insurance fraud, which makes
Oh,
sense. Like, look at
yeah,
the
that
shit he was
tracks.
doing.
Yeah, total
And they
fraud.
also held him on an outstanding warrant for horse theft.
Okay, cool.
He was captured by Pinkerton agents, actually, which I didn't know until today. I thought that was really fun.
That is kind of fun. I like that. Well,
I
Pinkerton Detective Agency started in Chicago anyway.
Yeah, and I always
That
forget
makes
this was
sense.
actually in Philadelphia where he was caught.
Oh,
Or no, sorry, he was in Boston when he was caught.
okay.
Um, but I always forget that Pinkerton is a thing that exists.
Yeah, I never forget because I have played a lot of Red Dead Redemption too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
So the Pinkerton agents were hired by the insurance company who suspected him of committing fraud, essentially. And the particular case they were inspecting, detecting, whatever.
investigating maybe?
Yeah, investigating.
Uh-huh.
My therapist, what did she say yesterday? She said, she was trying to say enabling,
Mm.
or no, she wasn't trying to say enabling. I can't remember, but she was like, say it was enabling instead of saying enabling. She said, you would be being enablered or something like that.
That's funny.
And then she just kind of looked at me. She was like, never mind. I was like,
Enabling? What were you talking about?
that wasn't the word, but I can't remember what the word was. But it was something like that. We weren't talking
Mhm.
about anyone being enabling. We talked a lot about actually we talked a lot about how I told you that we had both had a conversation about how we're struggling and it just makes us not be friends. Like not be friends, but like, you know, we're just living separate lives.
Yeah.
I talked a lot about that and how I'm trying to fix it or fix my side of it. I'm not trying to fix your side of it. That's your shit. I'm trying to
Uh,
fix, you know what I mean. I'm doing
I
what I can.
yes, Georgia, I know what you mean.
I'm taking ownership for my shit. Anyway,
Anyway,
investigating. Fucking Christ.
take your time.
Detecting. They were detecting.
They were detectivating.
I'm going with that. So he came up with a scheme with his like friend. He'd known this guy for like 7 years, and he admitted that he had planned to kill him from day one. So it's weird
Oh,
that you said
good.
this is weird that you said 7 years about Seth, but
Oh, thanks.
he's really
Fuck.
playing the long game here.
Yeah, okay.
So this guy's name was Benjamin Peitzel.
Thought you were gonna say Franklin. I was ready.
This guy's name was
Benjamin
Benjamin
Franklin.
Franklin,
This guy said, "Oh, no
but
way, Benjamin
but not
Franklin!
that
Holy shit!"
but not that Benjamin Franklin.
Damn.
Um,
Benjamin, or excuse me, what the fuck is Ben the
Gates, Benjamin
yes.
Franklin Gates.
Thank you for immediately knowing what I was trying to say.
Of course I
God
did.
damn it.
Because you're my national treasure.
Wow. Ah, fuck off.
That's that mug that I got you. That's what it
I
says.
know, I know.
Um, bitch.
It
Uh,
just reminds me that you actually like me. No, I meant that you actually love me. I was hoping that you would like me. Oh, that's funny. Holy
that I
shit.
that I like you.
Did you like me?
Uh,
Fucking hell.
okay, Benjamin Peitzel.
Ugh, yeah.
So the plan was that they would fake his death for the insurance money and then split it.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately for Ben, Mudgett actually murdered him, knocked him
Yep.
unconscious, and then set him on fire. He collected the money, $10,000,
That's so extra. Setting him on fire?
probably to cover up the fact that he murdered him. I don't
Oh,
really know.
yeah, that's true.
Or maybe that was the plan the whole time. Like, if the fake plan was for him to fake his death, then maybe the
Uh-huh.
plan was always to set him on fire to, like, yeah, whatever. I don't know.
I don't
Nothing
know,
this
man.
guy. This is one of those guys who is like always portrayed as an evil genius, but like nothing he ever did actually makes any fucking sense to me. Like he's just an
Right.
idiot. He's an
No, I
idiot.
totally know what you mean.
So he collected the money and told Peitzel's wife Carrie that her husband was lying low, waiting for her and their kids to go join him. So she sent three of their, I think he kind of tricked her into sending three of their kids with him because he wanted like collateral in case she was gonna like rat out their plan, I think.
Okay.
Um, but she sent three of her kids with him under the impression that he was like taking them to her husband. But he killed them too. Um,
Shocker.
Yeah, their names were Alice, who was 13, Nellie, who was 9, and Howard, who was 7. So that's sad.
That is sad.
The remains of Alice and Nellie were discovered in July of 1895, and that led to so even though he was already like arrested at this point, that's what led to a full investigation of the castle because like even though they suspected him of murdering people, they had no physical evidence.
Yeah.
Um, So, them finally finding these two bodies or sets of remains led to a full investigation of the castle. Now, while he was in prison, he claimed to have killed anywhere between 27 and 200 people. The number was always different. 27 minimum. The number was always different, and I think a lot of that, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of the people that he claimed to have killed were later found to be alive and fine and not know what the fuck he was talking about.
Yeah.
So that gives us an idea of his credibility when he says he could have murdered up to 200 people. He
Mm-hmm.
was also paid, I saw some say 7,500 and others say $10,000, but he was paid by William Randolph Hearst for his confession. So he essentially only wrote a confession to sell it to newspapers.
What did he think he would get out of it? Bunch of money, but he's like in. I'm sure I'm about to find out. Maybe I
Yeah,
don't
I
fucking know.
mean, literally, like I said, nothing he does makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, all of that considered, prosecutors decided their best chance for conviction was to just try him for the murder of Benjamin Peitzel,
Yeah.
which was a
Benjamin
good,
Franklin.
but yeah, Benjamin Franklin Gates, which was
Hmm.
a good move on their part as he was found guilty and he was hanged on May 7th, 1896, in Philadelphia.
I have a random question just out of nowhere. What's the difference between hanged and hung?
I think hanged is the correct term when you're talking about the execution method.
Okay.
And hung is like past tense of hanging something up.
Okay. So like I hung my clothes up. I
Yeah.
hanged my clothes up. Yeah, that hanged my clothes up doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This
But like
tracks.
to say he was hung also makes sense, but I don't think it's technically correct. I don't really know.
We don't know if he was hung.
We sure don't.
And I don't wanna know.
Allegedly, the executioner asked him if he was ready, to which he replied, "Yes, don't bungle."
Huh?
But like his
Don't
execu
bungle?
don't bungle his execution.
Oh,
But
bruh.
bungled it was, my friend, as his neck did not snap, and he hung there twitching for 15 minutes before being pronounced dead.
Damn.
You know what? He deserved it.
Shit sucks.
So, before continuing, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the people who are believed to have been victims of
Hmm.
him following the disappearance. I just want to say their names because a lot of podcasts don't do that. So, the official list doesn't include the disappearance of Mrs. Holden, the pharmacist's wife. Um, and again, he confessed to 27 murders at the minimum, but there's little evidence to support that claim, and that still includes some of those people who are confirmed to be alive.
Mm.
But people are pretty certain that he did, in fact, murder Julia Connor and her daughter Pearl. Julia was his mistress for a time when he was still married to Murda, who did eventually leave him. Murda left him. They never even lived together. She lived in Wilmette the whole time that he was building the castle and everything. Emmeline Sigrand, who disappeared shortly after telling friends and family that she was engaged. Minnie Williams, who was also engaged to him, and then her sister, Nanny Williams, who came to visit. Benjamin Pitezel, of course, and his three children, Alice, Nellie, and Howard. And then there are those he is suspected of killing. Those include John de Bruel, Emily Van Tassel, Dr. Russler, Kitty Kelly, cool name,
Yeah.
John Davis, Harry Walker, George Thomas, Milford Cole, Lucy Burbank, and two other unnamed people. I mentioned the castle was investigated before the trial, so the only physical evidence was a fragment of human bone believed to be from Julia, the remains of a child believed to probably be Pearl, a burned gold watch chain and dress buttons, which were said to have matched ones that Minnie had, and a tuft of human hair in a chimney.
Disgusting. Okay.
And the castle was burned down like on purpose, probably by arsonists. They were gonna turn it into like an attraction. Even back then in the 1890s, they were gonna turn it into like essentially a haunted house, like the kind that pop up around Halloween, you know.
Not surprised.
But it was burned down shortly after the trial, and the Englewood post office is now on that lot,
Okay.
which I just love that it's just the fucking post office.
Excuse me.
Julia was apparently really tall, like 6 feet, and this was useful information because a medical school purchased an articulated skeleton from Mudgett, which was unusually tall for a woman. Um, so they kind of figured out that that's probably how he disposed of, especially the victims who did disappear from the castle. That's probably why there was no evidence in the castle.
Hmm.
And he hired a guy who said, "Yeah, I cleaned, like, he defleshed some bodies
Bruh.
to
Oh,
sell." Yeah. And like art or he articulated a skeleton too. Like,
okay.
yeah. The most famous thing to ever come out of his mouth is this quote. I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than the poet can help the inspiration to sing.
Yeah, I've heard that quote before, and I think it's a load of shit.
Isn't it cringy?
It's so cringy, bro. Just get it together, dog. For real.
It seems like Eric Larson's release of Devil in the White City brought this case back into the spotlight. I mean, he's been criticized for adding some fictional details, but it's
Hmm.
narrative nonfiction.
Hmm.
It's narrative nonfiction.
Hmm.
but some people don't understand that that means he has taken some creative license with like the dialogue and things, you know?
Well, some people are
Um,
dumb. We know this.
yeah, like the the nonfiction part is really like the the history and the setting, like the World's Fair part, not so
Hmm.
much the part about him. And I think that Mudgett got the fame that he wanted because of yellow journalism, because of sensationalism that the newspapers gave the story. I mean, it's less than 10 years after Jack the Ripper, which was
Yeah.
the first truly popularized, like, true crime in the newspapers all over the world kind of sensationalized story. And then you have the World's Fair, like, providing this backdrop, like, this really stark contrast. And it probably just made a really good story for people to grab onto and, like, blow up and exaggerate.
It sure fucking did. I mean, I find it pretty enticing.
Yeah, like it's easy to be drawn in, but like just talking about the fair and everything that was going on at the fair is exciting
Yeah.
enough. And then you add in like all of this other seedy shit going on, you're like, oh, it's ju
Interesting.
it's juicy. So the murder castle was a myth. The truth is that he did remodel constantly and utilize multiple contractors, but it was more about swindling investors.
Hmm.
like cutting
Shocker.
cutting costs and taking the money. So while the castle is often described as 3 stories, like even I said earlier, it only started out as 2 stories, with the first floor being for the pharmacy because he moved the pharmacy from across the street into it when it was done, and other businesses. Like there was a jewelry counter at one point, and that's how Julia came in the picture because
Hmm.
her husband was the jeweler that was hired to run this jewelry
This is all
counter.
sounding horribly familiar all of a sudden.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've read Devil in the White City, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So his name was Ned. He was the jeweler. He suspected that something was going on. And finally he was just like, fuck this, I'm out. And he just left. And can you imagine how probably shitty he felt after he left and then heard that his wife and kid were fucking murdered?
My dad says hi.
Oh, hi, Steve. So yeah, the first floor was the pharmacy and other businesses, and then the second story was just for apartments. And then it wasn't until Chicago was selected for the fair that he decided he was going to build a third floor, and this was going to be the hotel, and he referred to it as the World's Fair Hotel. But that was all for the swindle for real.
Yeah, for real, for real.
Historians and architectural records both suggest that the building wasn't as elaborate as the made it out to be. There was this one account where he bought some furniture on credit and then didn't pay for it, so obviously. So when the furniture company came to repossess it, they just found an empty building. And it turns out I think they bribed like a janitor or something. But
Okay.
it turns out that he moved it all to one room and then walled up the door so they couldn't find the room.
Oh, that sounds like something he would do. Just
Like
like
it's
something like
like it's
stupid but smart.
yeah, it's like genius, but it's also really fucking
It's also like,
stupid.
what are you fucking doing?
Like, why is this worth it?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's such a top, whatever.
Yeah, and that's very different from having like secret passages and like gas fixtures in rooms
Hmm.
and, like torture chambers. Um,
There was some video game about that kind of thing recently. Like one of those uh choose your path, like butterfly effect type shit
hmm,
with like a murderer person. Probably loosely based on this.
yeah, probably.
Because the game was, I assume, a lot cooler than a lot of this.
Yeah, probably.
Just, just, you know, instinctually, probably not not as dumb.
Oh, bye.
Bye. Bye, Luna.
Well, it's about dinner time. And then, like I said, we have this backdrop of the World's Fair with the Midway, where all these burlesque dancers and belly dancers and scandalous women are performing.
Oh my
So
God.
it's like another parallel to the Jack the Ripper case. It's easy to spin a narrative where these morally ambiguous women get what's coming to them to scare women into behaving. And it's this kind of event, people are going to go missing, you know? Crime is going to you have 27 million people coming from all over the world in a 6 month time period. People are going to go missing. People are going to get
Yeah.
killed. Like, all predators know that's a statistic you can take advantage of.
Yeah.
Anyone can make someone disappear when there's 27 million visitors.
Uh-huh. It's not horrifying to think about at all.
No. You know, he's often referred to as America's Ripper, but it's more like he was the first murderer in America that had the same level of sensationalism as Jack the
Yeah.
Ripper. He wasn't an evil genius. He wasn't prowling the World's Fair, seducing hundreds of women. He was just a manipulative con man. And while this wasn't the true crime info dump that some people may have been expecting. Like, I wanted to add something new to the conversation about the H.H. Holmes myth,
Yeah.
because it is a fucking myth. He just was a shitty guy, you know, whatever. He was just a fucking Mudgett.
A what?
A Mudgett.
That was his name, right?
Yeah.
Oh my fuck.
Oh, and they exhumed him in 2017. A team from the UPenn Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology exhumed him in 2017 because some people wouldn't shut the fuck up about thinking that he had evaded execution and were attributing all of
Mm.
these other crimes and murders to him as well. But turns out he did not, which sucks to be them because his remains were encased in concrete because he didn't want to be dissected. The irony.
Yeah. It's ironic as fuck. Gross.
So, to do our normal pop culture, I really didn't see much, but Robert Bloch, author of Psycho and part of
Mm-hmm.
the Lovecraft Circle, as we've discussed before, he wrote a story called American Gothic, which is based on H.H. Holmes, but his main character is called G.G. Gregg, which I think is really funny.
Yeah, I like that. I don't care who you are. I like that.
Are you ready for this?
I'm
Season
ready.
season 2, episode 6 of Supernatural.
Yep.
No exit. There's an apartment building. I read the synopsis of the episode because I was like, oh, I kind of remembered it, but not really.
Oh, you didn't want to go back and watch the whole fucking thing?
But there's an apartment
Uh,
building where blonde girls keep going missing, and it turns out the apartment building is next to the lot where the prison used to be where he was executed. So
yeah.
it's his ghost that's kidnapping women, I guess. And Joe gets kidnapped, and it's all dramatic because she's like, why can't I be a hunter? And Ellen's like, fuck off, stop it.
Yeah.
And
I really
that's
liked Joe and
that's when you
Ellen.
find out that it was their dad that got him
Yeah.
killed. Yeah. The drama.
Yeah.
I feel like I gotta rewatch Supernatural soon.
Me too.
Shannon wants to rewatch Game of Thrones, which is gonna be an ordeal as
Oh
well.
yeah, that's an ordeal.
But not as much of an ordeal as rewatching Supernatural.
No. You could go back and forth with it, like get whiplash immediately.
Yeah, do like a season at a time.
Oof. Yeah. I was gonna say like an episode.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was season 5 of American. Weren't we talking about American Horror Story recently?
We were when we were in the car.
Oh, that's right. Season 5 of American Horror Story is Hotel with Lady Gaga,
Yeah.
where the hotel is based very much on the myth of the murder castle, and the architect of the hotel is very much based on Herman Webster Mudgett,
Who is a Mudgett?
who is a Mudgett.
I
I
love
think
that name.
I think it sounds like an insult because, like, you know, in the UK, you call people Muppets, and it
Yeah.
has that like same kind of like what a Muppet, what a Mudgett.
Yeah.
But it's like harder hitting because of the j sound.
Mudgett. It's giving It's giving like this could probably be a slur if I'm not careful,
Yeah.
you know?
Like, are we allowed to say that?
Hey, is that allowed?
Mudgett. What is
That
am I allowed to say that? Yeah, and that's what I have to say about H. Holmes.
H. Holmes.
H. Holmes.
What a guy.
When I was in Greenpeace, there was this girl. She was the fellow. And her name was Rachel, but she had a really similar background to me where like she grew up in England, but she had developed an American accent and all this.
Mhm.
One of the things that she was teased about before she developed an American accent was how she said H's. And so her nickname was Hachel.
That's shitty.
Yeah. She lives in Alaska now.
Cool.
Yeah, I want to live in Alaska,
Hell yeah.
but I also want to live on the East Coast. I want to live anywhere that's not the Midwest or the Southeast.
I don't blame you. Where would you live on the East Coast?
We've
I
been
know we've
talking,
I know we've talked about it, but
yeah, we've been talking about Maine or Massachusetts, but also lately I was like Connecticut. Connecticut could be fun.
I think Maine is a good idea.
Yeah, Maine would be
Think
great. I mean, Maine would be
think
really
they
close to
don't
Canada.
have there's some tax thing in Maine.
Yeah. And they're right next to Canada. We could go to Nova Scotia really easily. It's huge compared to the rest of the New England states.
It does not have local sales taxes.
Oh. And Maine has a lot of, like Illinois has had a lot of politicians that have been really outspoken about things happening currently. I think Maine is another one of the big ones that does too.
Mhm.
So, it'd be like a safe state, quote unquote.
10 pros and cons of living in Maine. Pro, local fresh seafood. Con, isolated locations. How is that a con?
That's not a con. Get out of here.
Pro, comfortable summer weather. Con, high property taxes. It's
Yeah,
true. Pro, beautiful natural landscapes. Con, frigid winters. Again.
not a con to me.
Pro, coastal living. Con, limited job opportunities. That depends. That
Depends on
depends.
your career, yeah.
Pro, diverse range of outdoor activities. Con, lack of public transportation. That is kind of a bummer. But what do you expect? It's Maine.
Yeah. Most places I've lived have a lack of public transportation, so
Um, if you live away from big towns, lack of healthcare and services,
that comes with being in an isolated location.
horrible Asian food, high costs of goods and services, aged, poorly maintained infrastructure, high cost of living, high cost of living, uh, not a lot of jobs, stagnant wages, lots of meth use. What?
Oh,
Have you ever come to Illinois?
I was gonna say the Midwest, hello? Same issue.
Cost of living is crazy high. In most states, you don't need 100 gallons of heating oil every 3 weeks in January. Rust destroys cars here because of the weather. That makes sense.
Yeah, I could
Gas
see that with
costs
all the
more. There's
salt
more
and
of a
everything.
tax, and it's more expensive because it has to be shipped there.
They probably get all their electricity from Canada.
Is it better to live in Maine or Massachusetts?
Connecticut was one I thought of just the other day, and then I was like, I could work at Yale and live my best Rory Gilmore life.
Really, Massachusetts also housing costs are insane.
I believe that.
Apparently, Vermont is the place to be.
Get that maple syrup. The good,
Yeah,
good.
dog. Yeah, dog.
Oh, there's a cat
Okay.
hair.
Hey, thanks
Yeah.
for teaching me about H. Holmes. There was a lot of stuff that I was like, this sounds vaguely familiar. I'm sure I
Yeah.
learned about it at some point, and a lot of stuff that was like, I don't really know anything about what's going on. I'm just going to keep listening and hope that it resolves itself. And it did.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even really talk about him that much, and I kind of did that on purpose just because he sucks, and we don't need to talk about him. Like, we don't, I don't know. Like, I get it. I'm a true crime girly, but there is that, like, fine line between, I don't know, like, what am I trying to say? It's a hard thing to enjoy as entertainment. I did read a article once about like women, why women especially are like programmed to enjoy true crime, and it's more about like the anxiety of statistics and
Yeah.
preparing yourself for, God forbid, something that will never happen, but like just to know like what would I do in this situation? Do I think I would make it out of this situation? And like learning to trust your instincts and hearing
Mhm.
about what other people do or didn't do that could have helped them or um and there's that fine line between like furthering the sensationalism of these people and also just again learning about what they did and trying to correct some of the narrative. So I didn't want to spend too much time talking about him,
That's
which is
fair.
what why I didn't like talk about his background or anything, because who fucking cares?
Who cares?
He's just another fucking guy
Who just killed bitches for seemingly no reason. Because he had the devil in him.
because he wanted money. Like
Yeah,
that's what it was. We all see it. Don't lie that you have the devil in you.
that's not a
You're just
good
a
enough
greedy
reason.
fucking bastard. Yeah.
Piece of
So,
shit.
okay.
Okay.
Please rate and review our podcast.
Hell yeah.
Follow us on social media. We promise we'll start posting more. Uh, yeah.
Okay, bye.
Recording
Recording
stopped.
stopped.
Well, that concludes this week's broadcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you wish to stay in touch, reach out to us at broadcastfromthebelfry@gmail.com or stalk us on Instagram at broadcastfromthebelfry. Again, I hope you've enjoyed our little show. Please rate and review. And until next week, stay spooky.